Alright everyone, the legacy media is all in on defending woke corporations, regardless of what they do. Like, the legacy media is involved in ESG too. Who do you think their investors are? So when I see something like this, link in the description, archived of course, no shit. The legacy media outlet is defending the woke corporations, regardless of what they've done. I'm so surprised about that. I'm sure it surprises all of you as well, a very great deal. Link in the description, you should take it. Because what the legacy media is now claiming is that the boycotts are a pride backlash. So this is a backlash against the existence of gay people or rainbow flags or something. Well then, where were those boycotts in the past? To a limited, very regional degree, they occasionally and sporadically existed and have among every political ideology throughout the longest span of time in the world. The idea of using your voluntary association to choose not to do business with a specific entity and to organize that and try to convince others to do the same is a pretty time-honored tradition. It's not exactly a modern invention. It's been doing this, they've been doing this for a long time. But I would like to submit that this is not about Pride Month. It's not about gay people. It's not about, well, you want to kill bisexuals. No. I'll express my support for these boycotts situationally as well, although, again, as I complained of last week, some individual behaviors in them is bullshittery, and I think in some cases false flagging as well. The boycotts are justified because they don't have to do with pride. The idea that some random gay couple wants 10-year-olds to get twerked on by the drag queen, I reject that. I've spoken with enough people who are gay and asexual and lesbian and so forth in my time to know that the average person that falls into those groups is not interested in harming children. They're not interested in any way in public displays of explicit nature because they're unhelpful. If you were, like, imagine that you're gay and you're 40 or something. So you remember the time when the United States was having a national conversation about whether you should even be able to get a fucking state marriage contract to be able to share property for the purposes of inheritance and medical proxy and so forth, and actually call it a marriage. It's the same thing as a civil union, it's just you weren't allowed to use the same term. So imagine that you're one of those gay people. To you, pride meant, hey, I want equal rights. Why can't you just fucking leave me alone? All I want to do is, I have sex with men. Somebody will clip that out, by the way, and troll with it. Isn't that a little bit different from, hey, I have the right to read the pee-pee book to your 10-year-old in a public school. I have the right to have my book, Anal Sex for Dummies, and put it in the kindergarten school library. These are not the same thing and don't even involve the same sub-forces that were involved in the original meaning of pride to begin with. The concept of, hey, I'm gay and that should be considered okay is a little bit different from, hey, kid, stuff Benji Greens into my padded bra. Well, what's the similarity? It doesn't even make sense. Now, in some cases, like I remember seeing one of the first things that I saw actually in the Netherlands. This is so stereotypical. When I first landed in the Netherlands the first time I was here, and we were in Amsterdam, one of the first things that happened, like in half an hour out of the airport, I think it was, we were on a tram, because we were going to the hotel, and the tram got stopped for like 10 minutes, and it was a blistering heat wave, like it's going to be next week, by the way, so it wasn't really that pleasant, by a pride parade. And there were probably 10,000 people filtering down the road, and singing music and stuff. Now, I watched it with casual amusement. I didn't see anything sexual. I saw people, certainly, that were dressed scantily, but it's nothing more than you'd see at the goddamn beach anyway. I'm not going to get moralistic about, oh my god, it's bondage gear. Okay, their ass is covered, their tits are covered and stuff. Yeah, it's risque, but it's not exactly stripping. I don't care. And it was like, it was PG-13 rated, basically. I didn't see dildo floats or anything like that, but then uniquely in the United States especially, it always seems to be that the pride float is a giant dick or something like that. And it's not, drag isn't even a sexual identity. Drag is a performance art that happens to overlap loosely with a gender identity, although we've got plenty of examples, often echoed by the legacy media, fucking moralistic right-wing politicians back in high school and college dressed in drag. It's because it's a mock-up of femaleness. That's the whole comedic foil. Drag performances have morphed into more like a strip club thing than a comedy and humor thing at this point. And it's alarming that it involves kids. So when Budweiser has an influencer, like TikTok actually fucking matters, and is giving them beer, and they're becoming a brand sponsor, or whatever the term is that Budweiser chose to use, a brandy man, who gives a fuck, giving Dylan Mulvaney a bunch of beer, and then videos are made. Oh, here's my beer collection. Yep, piss beer. Yeah, this is totally, by the way, what a rich bitch like Dylan Mulvaney drinks on a regular basis. Yes, Budweiser is so associated with the Pride movement, by the way. You look at Target. Target is putting penis-tucking underwear perilously close to or in the kids section, of a size that can fit some adolescents, by the way, claiming, and then has additionally in its display, and this is just poor optics, again, it doesn't bother me, but you have like the Satan minds his pronouns shirt or whatever it was, made by one gay designer. You can't understand why this would piss people off, so you're ignorant, number one. Number two, you're being disingenuous when you do that and then claim that there's nothing wrong. A reasonable person taking Jimmy or Sally in to get their shoes doesn't want to see the Satan shirt. That should go in the edgy section, because it's colloquially considered edgy. You got to realize more than half of your user base, if you're Target or Budweiser, more than half of them are Christians. They don't like these sorts of things. It doesn't need to bother somebody like myself who's less moralistic. Don't you think about who your customers are? Apparently they didn't. So they're ignorant, and they're taking a beating, and that damage trickles to other companies that are inter-sponsored with Budweiser and Target and so forth. You get a product, you get a Target exclusive line. Right now you're hurting a little bit, probably. The same is true of Kohl's, Lululemon, a few of these others are being targeted. Calling it Pride Backlash is the epitome of disingenuous, because nobody was no reasonable person outside of the 10% of the really religious wackadoodle side of the population, nobody else had a problem. The nation had healed well past the gay rights movement, to the point where the people in the population, by and large, a supermajority of them, approved of gay marriage, had no problem with lesbians. Well, even the Christians didn't have a problem with lesbians, but they keep that one hush-hush. Bisexuals, they didn't care about any of these things. What happened is that Tumblr invented 2,000 new genders. Drag was then passed off, hawked off on the population as being part of a gender identity instead of the minstrel-like performance art it is, and companies started sexualizing material and tying them in with kids' lines, while Budweiser simply ignored the vast core of its U.S. drinker base, doesn't like Dylan Mulvaney and people like them. That's the long and short of it. What does that have to do with Pride? Again, unless you assume that Pride has to do with selling 12-year-olds penis-tucking undergarments, it has nothing in common with it. You're extending the nature and notion of Pride well past any describable original origins that it had. So, Pride Backlash, what are you talking? In Budweiser's case, it was just poor optics. And half of the people boycotting it are chuckling and laughing their asses off. The internet side of that boycott is basically a giant meme. It's amusing. It's funny to watch a corporation, by the way, hemorrhage billions of dollars. It's interesting how the far left is now trying to bottle feed all of these corporations. How dare you not drink Budweiser? I never thought I'd hear that from someone who probably voted for Bernie Sanders, but they found a way. Corporate branding has gone off the chain. I'm sitting back, I'm laughing about this more than anything else. I don't want kids to be exposed to pee-pee tuck underwear or dildo floats. I think that laws against having minors in attendance at such things is legit. I don't think that violates anyone's rights. What right do you have to twerk in front of a 10-year-old? It's explicitly sexual. There is no debate to even be had over this, and there was no debate until leftoids pushed it way too far, and corporations started helping them do so. That's about all. Peace out.